Bringing you mysteries, stories of the paranormal, urban legends, and secrets from the dark corners of the internet. This is the Iceberg Database. Have you heard of Demolition Elves? There have been reports for many years about people seeing small beings that look like elves shortly before a disaster type of event happens. Could they be harbingers of bad prophecy? Do they have some sort of future knowledge? Or are they responsible for the disaster itself? They may be interdimensional beings that can travel in and out of our dimension with ease. There are claims that the Mothman of West Virginia was spotted in New York when 9/11 happened. Perhaps they come from the same dimension. In 1966, John Keel and others spotted someone hammering away on top of the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant. Some reported two small elf-looking people. Others reported it as the Mothman. The following day, the Silver Bridge collapsed during rush hour, killing 46 people. The National Transportation Safety Board concluded that the Silver Bridge collapsed due to a crack in the bridge that went unnoticed and unrepaired for many years. It makes me wonder if the beings on top of the bridge were attempting to fix the problem or make it worse. Demolition Elves sound eerily similar to Tommyknockers and somewhat similar to leprechauns or what the English call brownies. The Tommyknockers were seen around coal mines, silver mines, and other similar types of areas. Tommyknockers would often play practical jokes on the miners. They weren't necessarily considered evil, but they weren't necessarily considered good either. Their name came from the sound they would make before cave-ins in the mine would happen. They would knock on the walls, which alerted the miners that a cave-in was about to happen.
Get down here. Listen. It's coming from way down here.
Could the Tommyknockers see the future? Did they know the cave-in was going to happen before it did? Or were they responsible for the cave-ins? In Iceland, elves are taken much more seriously than they are in the rest of the world. A rock, known as the Elfin Lady Stone, and believed by the locals to be the home of elves, was inadvertently buried by workers who were repairing a nearby road that was damaged in a mudslide. This resulted in many mishaps, from vehicles breaking down to people being trapped in the mud. They were in disbelief at the run of bad luck that they were having until it dawned on them that the mishaps seemed like the work of elves. They unburied the Elfin Lady Stone and then managed to complete their work. This isn't the only story like this from Iceland either. They have experienced similar incidents with other rocks and tunnels when the elves don't approve of human activity. The belief there is so strong that they build houses for the elves that can be seen across the landscape. There they believe there are 13 varieties of elves. They range in size from a few inches tall to nearly the height of an adult human. They do not dress in pointy hats and shoes. They can be distinguished by their very old-fashioned way of dressing. It's also believed that dwarfs, trolls, and gnomes roam the countryside, with only 2% of human beings being able to see them. Want to learn more? The headmaster, Magnus Skarfendensen, teaches a day-long course at the Elf School of Reykjavik. England has a similar phenomenon with what they call brownies, or fairies, often believed to live on the outskirts of villages. Fairies could be heard howling in the woods, and this was interpreted as a warning of a death or a tragedy. It's believed that fairies can predict the death of a human and are able to reveal this information to them as well. Stories have been passed down through generations of fairies showing people their cause of death shortly before it happens, or in some cases, convincing them to change course and avoid an untimely death. There's a story of a man that was traveling through Avitalary when he heard voices talking in the woods. He stopped to listen to them, and what he heard were fairies describing the man's very own death by falling from a tree. Then he heard the sound of a tree falling and a moan. There may be an alternative definition to Demolition Elves. An eco-defense group called the Earth Liberation Front, who became organized in the early 90s, used economic sabotage and guerrilla warfare tactics to stop the exploitation and destruction of the environment. Essentially, the group would burn down or sabotage the buildings of companies that were involved in logging, genetic engineering, GMO crops, deforestation, SUV sales, urban sprawl, and anything else they deemed bad for the environment. They earned themselves the title of eco-terrorists by the FBI and were featured on several TV specials and movies. Elf activities declined in the 2010s, but because of the decentralized, leaderless structure, it's tough to say when it started, when it ended, and which events they were responsible for. So what do you think? Interdimensional beings with the premonition for disaster? Overzealous eco-activists with the hunger for destruction? Or something else? Thanks for watching.